You're listening to episode 28 of the Spinoff Success Podcast. Welcome to the Spinoff Success Podcast with Beth Phillips. Join me each week for inspiring stories about people leveraging tools, platforms, systems, and skills to create thriving businesses, successful side hustles, and surprising new careers. Tune in to discover how to turn your skills and expertise into a spinoff success. Hello, this is Beth Phillips. Thanks again for tuning in. My guest today is Alex Fasulo, who has earned more than $1 million as a freelance writer on Fiverr.com. I discovered Alex on TikTok, where she shares tips and best practices for success on Fiverr specifically, but I think you can apply her strategies on any platform that relies on reviews and for services other than writing. In addition to her TikTok videos, Alex has also created an ebook and a couple of courses to walk people through the steps to optimize a profile, services, and how to manage workflow for success on Fiverr. We also talk about mindset, some other cool business projects that Alex is excited about, and even get into spirituality a little bit. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Alex Fasulo. Alex.
Hi.
Oh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for, first of all, scheduling so quickly. I really appreciate it because I know you're so busy, especially this time of year. It's so
yeah.
busy. Yeah. And the only reason I'm nervous is because you have so much going on and I want to get to as much as possible.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's get to it because I know you have some things to do. So if you don't mind talking about how you got started on Fiverr and a little bit of background that kind of led you to that.
I accidentally got started on Fiverr. I was using it just to make some petty cash when I was 21. I was actually working another job in Albany, and I was bored at it. So my mom was like, hey, I found this website. You might be able to make like $5 a month or something on it. Check it out. So I was editing for no money. I thought it was cool. Didn't really think much of it. And then I moved to New York City, November 2015 for a PR job that I ended up hating beyond belief and quit after a month, which was definitely not the plan.
Wow.
So yeah, I had no choice really. So I kind of went home that night and I was like, you know what? This website's making me, even if it's only, $20 a month, it's still making me something. So why don't I just give it a shot, or I'm screwed,
Yeah.
So yeah, I dove into it. And I also signed up on Upwork at the time, and my Fiverr's the one that took off, and I just, liked the platform more. And after a few months, I was getting pretty steady clientele on there. I wasn't charging much. I wasn't making much, but I was super happy. I didn't care. I definitely had discovered I was much happier not working for anyone else. So
Oh, yeah.
I didn't care what I was making. I was just thrilled I didn't have a boss. I was like, this is fine with me.
Yeah, especially you were so young, and to be able to support yourself is such freedom. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like a kind of surreal feeling that I actually still feel 6 years later. It still sometimes is like, wow.
Well, that is the question, though. Do you feel like you're happily unemployable? Like, could you even picture working for somebody else?
No, not one day till I die could I work for anyone else.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I halfway feel the same way. But I know my older daughter feels the same way too. And she spent a little bit of time in an agency and she was doing creative work for them, and it was just smothering her. So
Yeah.
she ended up quitting, and they became one of her clients as a freelancer. Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've heard you talk. First of all, I should explain, and I will in the intro, that I found you on TikTok, and God bless the TikTok algorithm. Like, I'm in my 50s. However you came up on it, God bless them. But first of all, your content is so cool on there, and you're just really good at just laying out the basics of what you do and encouraging people to do it. But what I've heard you say a lot is that when you're starting out, for sure, just go for the $5 jobs because the idea, explain that process. You explain it better than I do when somebody's just starting out.
Yeah, the secret to freelancing platforms, I think, and people don't realize this, is the reviews. So I figured that out early on, and I realized, you know what? If I set my pride aside and if I work for cheap right now, I'm going to start getting more and more 5-star reviews, like a product on Amazon, right? So if I have 1,000 5-star reviews on a blog gig, then a year from now I can charge whatever I want because I have the most reviews of anyone on the site, and that's how it works on any site. And
Yeah.
so I kind of just, yeah, I mean, I didn't really care. I didn't work for much. I was still very happy doing it. And I hit a point now where I have so many reviews on all of my gigs that I don't need to do anything anymore. I don't need to do any marketing because I'm like grandfathered in so deeply from these reviews that it kind of makes you like infallible a little bit, but you have to be willing to, bust your ass, sorry,
Yeah.
bust your ass in the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah.
That's,
Well,
yeah.
the thing that's impressive, though, is that by then you did have some experience professionally with writing, whether it was what were you doing before you were working for a politician, right?
Yeah,
In your first job?
I was like what you call a press coordinator.
Right.
So I learned how to write press releases, but that was actually the only thing that I carried with me to freelancing, which is why I tell people like don't be scared if you don't think you have all of this experience because all the things I do now, like write ebooks, blogs, is completely self-taught. I
Wow.
just always knew that I like to write. So I do tell people like if you hate writing or you don't like writing, like
Yeah.
don't force yourself. You need to like to do it. But
Did you go through a period or some gigs that you tried out and you really didn't love them?
yeah, actually, I mean, I don't know. I'm really stubborn with a lot of stuff, as you could probably guess. So most of the gigs, I still have them open now, but I absolutely hate writing product descriptions. I just hate it.
Really?
I
Interesting,
hate it.
because that seems like a thing that you could just fire off so quickly.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I just don't like doing it, but I still have it open because if someone is gonna, I still have that mentality I had almost 7 years ago now, where if you're gonna hand me money to do something, I will still do it. And I always think that's an important part of all this to not get like too full of yourself and just be willing, if someone's gonna pay you, just shut up and do it. So,
Well, I mean, I think at a certain point, especially if you need it or for sure, you rely on the platform. So you don't want a bunch of whoever saying, wow, she doesn't want to do anything.
yeah.
But I do think there's a balance, though, about what lights you up, y- y- to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I approach it very like business mindset more than I do like creative passion mindset. So
Hmm.
I run it like a cold, hard business. And
Hmm.
I think that's also important so that you don't take things too personally with it. And you're kind of like able to separate like yourself from it when
Yeah.
you close your laptop and it's not like bothering you at dinner.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, is it hard for you to close your laptop or do you keep yourself like pretty scheduled?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good about closing my laptop, but I have, everything's on your phone now. So I would be lying if I didn't tell you that between, 6 p.m. and when I go to bed, I don't check the app at least once. Like you
Hmm.
have to. I mean, it's your own business. It's no one is going to answer these people for you. And the more attentive you are to them, the more likely they're going to buy from you. Because if someone writes to you at 10 p.m. and says, I want a blog. And you don't answer them until 10 a.m. the next day. The freelancer who did answer them is going to get the business. So, it's hard to unplug, but I always
Yeah.
make sure I get the hard work, honestly, done by this time, 2 p.m. or so. I'm a big morning person. That's when I do all my technical stuff. And then the afternoon is when I do my more like creative,
That's
laid
cool.
back things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be filming TikToks after this probably.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll ask you about that for sure. Um, but the other thing I noticed on your website is that you hire writers as well. And so are they under the umbrella of Alex Fasulo on Fiverr and you just subcontract them?
Yeah, so that's been a new development. So like I would say the first 4 years on Fiverr was just me. And then I hit a point where I was making, a lot of money per order, but you can only write so much. Like I can't
Absolutely, yeah. You're
turn
not scalable. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I kind of, the entrepreneurial side of me was like, all right, what do I do now? Because I want to keep going. Like that's the whole reason why I don't want a boss. I don't ever want a ceiling on what I can do. So I was like, exploring it. I even asked Fiverr. I said, "Is this okay?" They said it's okay.
Oh, cool.
They're like, as long as the product is, obviously original and whatever, and it's being completed by other people with the same credentials as you, we kind of look the other way on it. So yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, I started working with one guy who was helping me with my more like basic things like web content. And then this last year, I'm very slow to add writers. I'm very picky.
Well, I think you have to be.
Yeah, I am. I'm very, very picky about it. I've been through like 30 of them to find like one.
Yeah,
Um, so it's hard work, honestly. Like sometimes I put it off because it's just as hard to find these people.
right.
But then I found another guy I'm working with who's just doing ebooks for me. And I'm actually getting a lot of interest off of Fiverr. So he's kind of like helping me with my off of Fiverr business. And then the other one's helping me with my Fiverr business. So it's just me and two other writers right now. But
Yeah.
I'd obviously love for it to be, 15 writers one
Yeah.
day. It's just a very slow process
Yeah,
to
and that'll
yeah,
come, I guess it's either a training process or a vetting process. And it
yeah,
sounds like you've been going through a vetting process,
yeah,
trying to find somebody. And maybe, that will grow into a training formula that you have, that you
yeah,
could train even like the mediocre writer um, to do what you do, sort of,
yeah,
replicate your system.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then speaking of your system, another one of your TikToks. And by the way, I'm going to encourage everybody just to binge them because
Yeah.
they're so substantive. But you talk about sort of your onboarding process for your clients. And I was wondering whether you came up with that yourself just through experience and trial and error, or if you researched like just a basic format. So describe it and then tell me how you kind of came up with that.
Are you saying like how I came up with what I post on TikTok?
No, the onboarding process for your writing clients when somebody hires you on Fiverr. So I guess you have like a questionnaire for
Oh yeah.
their ebook or
Yeah.
the different gigs.
Yeah, so like I guess I have a different questionnaire per service I offer, and it's taking me years to know what to
Oh,
put
okay.
in that questionnaire. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to
That's
know.
like the most probably valuable part of my business, and probably the most valuable information I am sharing with people on TikTok is what to put in these questionnaires, because it took me like 4 years. I mean, I was still changing them up until this year. And being in Fiverr Pro, I work with people who work for Fiverr, and they even help me to get my stuff, more up to speed with what they expect from their Fiverr Pro, because they don't want their clients to be unhappy with
Yeah,
me and whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I started out with questionnaires that would have like 3 questions in them, and now mine have like 12 in them, and they're very specific. Like for an ebook, I would have never known this, until I did it.
yeah,
Catch an ebook example of one that you already like, some titles that you like, what tonality, like what kind of tone do you want in this? Do you have keywords? Do you want a book blurb? Like all of that
that's
stuff
great.
has been learned, and sometimes painful learning, because it would come from dissatisfied buyers.
Oh,
And Fiverr would kind of say to me, okay, that's kind of on you. If they're unhappy, that means you're not communicating to them correctly in your gig. So it came through painful learning lessons
yeah,
to figure out what to ask these people. Oh, yeah.
yeah. Well, and then I was thinking about that because then clearly the people that you hire have access to basically the most valuable part of your business. What and you hit $1 million this year?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's so cool. So what makes them not want to just go and spin off and create their own Fiverr business?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, they could, the guys who write for me, they could go open their own Fiverr storefront if they wanted to, but I think it's because I put in the 4 or 5 years already, the review part. So it's like they don't want to go write for $5. So they'll take what I'm paying them, which is much higher than that. And they're okay with not hitting what I'm making, of course, but I think they enjoy that. They don't have to go through the painful part that I did,
Right,
you know.
right.
But
Are
I
they
respect, they can do whatever they want. I think
sure?
I think I'm a pretty nice boss. I'm very non micromanaging because I'm so busy. I just like leave everyone alone. That's probably
Yeah.
what I like. Yeah.
Do you have to review their final product or do you or are they at the point that you just completely trust them and
I would in the beginning, and then I would stop. It has to, for them to be worth it to me. It has to be at a point where I don't have to review it, because if I'm reviewing it, what's the point of this now? Obviously, if it's
Right.
something longer, like an ebook, that's different. But if it's a blog post and I have to go through it word for word, I could have just written it because I can write them very quickly. So in the beginning, I would be, yeah, very kind of hands on with it. But they're great, and that's what's special about them, because all the other people I went through, when I stopped watching, they started slacking. So that's kind of my agreement with
Awesome.
these people is, I'm not going to bother you, and you kind of can make this what you want it to be, but don't you dare not proofread your blog, or I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Are they remote or are they local to you?
They're remote. They're remote. Yeah. They're
Nice.
actually not local.
Okay.
I'm like willing to whoever, it's half obviously the natural like talent to be a writer, but to work with me, it's actually more so your work ethic, because I am a 7 day a weeker. So,
You are.
if you need like half the week off, it's just that's what it is for me. Like that can't work for me, which is fine, but not my style.
Yeah. Is that kind of what drives you? Because yeah, it's clear that you are working. Seems like constantly. It looks like you have fun too, because
Yeah.
I follow you on Instagram, so you have, it seems like a nice balance, especially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Um, oh, and then the last question I wanted to ask you about at least your approach and uh, advice about starting on Fiverr. Do you think that applies to any of the services that Fiverr offers? Like whatever your expertise or skill or lack of skill that you could grow. Do you think your approach is just something that would work for any of the areas?
Honestly, yes. Basically, based on the feedback that people give me on my TikTok videos, because like I never thought it would, yeah, blossom into what it has on these social media apps. But I have people from everything, from they give business consultations to people who sell spells to people who, make logos. All of them have piped up and said like, hey, your method to charge cheap rates, get more reviews, and use buy requests, whatever, it's worked. And I'm like, okay.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and writing and translation isn't even the most popular category by far on Fiverr. The graphic and design department is like 3 times as big. And then the social media marketing is twice as big. And then comes writing and translation. So I would say to
Wow.
people, like, if you're going to do anything related to those two departments, you even have a chance probably to make more money
Wow.
because there's even more clients for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, so one of the reasons I reached out to you was just because of the people who are doing something like you're doing, and then they get so much expertise in it that then they're teaching other people. And I know
Yeah.
you have an ebook which is really more informative than it should be for $5,
Yeah.
so thank you for that. And I got the free one, so awesome. But also so, so you created a couple of courses, right?
Yeah, I did.
And is that a huge income stream for you? And why or why not? I mean, it just doesn't seem like you pay that much attention or promote those very much on TikTok.
Yeah, I know. People always tell me that I could be more salesy with stuff. And I guess it kind of cracks me up because at the end of the day, I'm not really a like self-promotional person at all. I'll just get on there and like spit the facts. And people always say to me, why don't you sell things more? And I'm like, I'm working on it. Okay. That's
Yeah.
just not my personality type. But no, those online courses, when they went live, I think 3 months ago, have been incredible for
Oh,
me.
good.
And it's nice because it's actually my friend in Utah. I filmed them with him, Josh Rossi. He's a pretty famous graphic designer. He's done stuff for all the movies and everything. He actually flew me out to record it. He was smart. He found me on TikTok, and he was smart. He grabbed it
Cool.
and professionally recorded these with me. So they're really nice, very professional courses, two of them.
Yeah,
And he manages like all of it for me, so I don't really need to do anything now,
that's
and they
nice.
make me some decent money for sure. So I it's on my my list of next year, I think, to promote them even more than I do now. But they've been a really great thing for me. So I always recommend to people, like, if you have the opportunity to make online courses, I would do it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I interviewed a woman who I found through TikTok, and she is a top Etsy seller.
Mm,
And now she started like a premium coaching brand and then like a mid-tier membership, and
yeah.
she's going to do some courses recording her things. But you're really good at teaching, like you're so clear on TikTok.
Yeah.
Does that appeal to you, like either like a premium coaching sort of hand holding somebody through the process, or not at all?
I'm actually testing it out right now. I have like a closed Facebook group. I started it last month because a girl on Fiverr actually said, you should have a closed community that people pay to access where they've access to you and each other. And I didn't never thought of that. And I go, okay, I'll try it out. I have about 8 people in it right now. And I'm testing out if I like it or not because it's actually, it can be draining a little bit to kind of almost then if they're paying, it's almost that feeling of like you owe them a
For
little bit.
sure.
And
Yeah.
it's a different feeling than on TikTok where I just can post whatever I want. I don't owe anyone anything.
Right.
So I'm testing out if I like that or not. I may end up just sticking to, courses, TikTok,
Yeah.
or maybe like, some premium thing where if someone wants to pay like a lot of money, but then my problem is I'm so used to being this like free bird, and I
Yeah.
have been for 6 or 7 years that when I like have to, do something at some time, I'm like, no, no, no.
I get it because in that situation, no matter how much they're paying you, then you're like creating your own employer. Ah.
Exactly, exactly. So I don't think I'm going to end up getting into it. I'm actually taking an online course my friend made, Charlie Chang, um, on YouTube because he keeps telling me that I should spend more time on YouTube so that I can do,
Mm.
like 18-minute videos, like
Hmm.
teaching, but then I'm not like beholden to anyone. So he's probably right.
Yeah. Good. And
Yeah.
then I listened to another podcast, and the couple, and I don't know if they're friends of yours, but the couple of episodes just to learn more about you, were really good.
Oh yeah. Which ones? I'm
The
curious.
one is Entre, the
I've done
guy.
so many. I'm so bad. I might have
Well,
forgotten.
it sounded more recent, but the name of the podcast I think is the Entre Dash Preneur or something.
Okay.
But he was talking a lot. He must be in some software development. But he was asking you, that's where you mentioned your app. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, so you're, you're into so much. When did you start that?
Oh gosh, I started that 2 years ago.
Mm,
Once I started doing quite well on Fiverr because I was like, okay, what should I do with this money, right? Like I want to grow this, I want to take this money and do things with it.
heck yeah.
So I started to invest into an app. And I've always been fascinated by social media. I can't say I love social media because I do think it's making a lot of people really depressed. So I can't sit here and say like, oh, I love it, but it is a necessary evil today if you literally, if you want to do anything. So
Right.
I came up with this app idea to create a map, right, for influencers. If they're somewhere new, it would show them, oh, this is the picture you can get at this restaurant. This is the picture you can get on this bridge.
Oh, that's
And it
cool.
kind of goes hand in hand with what I teach people because it's so important to build your personal brand today and make yourself an expert. So people need these pictures. So I started that process 2 years ago. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, still to date. Um, One of the most complex, involved. Anyone else would have quit. I mean, it's
It
just
has to
so
be
intense.
intense.
It's unbelievable. And the guy I work with on that, he's a great sport. We've been in this together now 2 years, he and I. But one problem has been because of COVID in like cities like New York, you can't go to these pins anymore. So
Oh,
we're kind of
darn.
just sitting here like, do we shift its focus to like Florida? Do we change it up? Like, what are we going to do with this? So I've kind of hit like an impasse with it, and I'm trying to, think about how to make it so that it fits in this world we're in now or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Is
Something
is
about
the app live?
it
Like
is. It's in the
people
App
can use it.
Store. It's not in the Google Play Store, which people keep yelling at me about. We're trying to figure out how to get it ready for the Google Play Store. We can only do so much, he and I, so we're, just
Hmm.
trying to bear with each other. But I think like 70% of app downloads come from the App Store anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Right.
Google Play
Right.
people. I will get there.
Right. Well, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you about and how it's doing is that you are the marketer, right, for your mom's campfire trailer business,
Yes. Yes.
which is the coolest idea ever. I
Yeah.
never heard of it, and I had to look it up after I heard about it. So tell me
Yeah.
about that.
My mom and I have so much fun doing that. Just if you seeing and talking to me right now, just so you know, my mom is literally me. Like, just picture me at 60. That's my mom. So
That's awesome.
same
Oh,
voice,
that's great.
talking, everything. You would just like probably crack up.
That's
Um,
great.
so we work great together. It's like two of me's basically. And we kind of both had this idea for it in 2018. I had come back from Arizona and I saw some people selling things out of horse trailers and campers. And I came home to tell, I was like, Mom, did you know people are doing this? And she, oddly enough, had seen one on Etsy the same day. So it was like this weird, we both like discovered it at the same time moment.
Oh,
And
we're
then,
going to talk about that. There's nothing weird about that.
okay, yes, exactly. Okay, of course, right? That's not a coincidence at all.
Right.
And because, so come this year, that business is taken off because all of these businesses that can't sell out of their stores anymore
Perfect.
can sell out of a mobile trailer, which doesn't make sense, but whatever. So, we're
Perfect.
going to like capitalize from that, I guess. And because our business is so like COVID friendly, we actually have like really possibly big things coming for it next year. I think I'm allowed to say like they want to make a TV show about it. So that's what I've been really focusing my
That's
time on.
so cool.
That's why my
That's so
app's
cool.
getting ignored and stuff, but I mean, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
So,
it'll all work out. And
yeah.
does she refurbish them herself? Does she do like the physical stuff herself?
She's insane. She was for like a year and a half, and my sister and I were like, "Can you stop? You're 59. Like, can we get young men to do this? Like, why do you need to do this?" My mom's like a tank. She'll just do anything. So
That's
we
so
finally
cool.
convinced her, and this year has been great. We have 5 or 6 guys around the country now who are happy to make them, and then my mom and I do the selling and the marketing and the pictures and everything.
Yeah.
But she could do them by hand, which was like, I was like, great, okay, mom, we get it, we know it, like we can see that you can do this. But
She might have to for the reality show.
well, that's what they'll
Yeah.
want to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And so is the model though that you guys buy them, refurbish them, and then sell them to people who want to like rent them out or cater or something out of them?
Yeah, I mean, they've gone on to be so what it's whatever these people want to turn them into. We don't put like refrigeration or anything in. It's more barren inside for them. I mean, it
Uh,
looks really nice. There's,
I
nice
do.
flooring and everything, but
Yeah.
they've gone on to be mobile bars, flower shops, mobile restaurants. Some people very smartly are putting them on their Airbnb property and serving to their guests,
Wow.
and anyone could do this. So I always say to people, like, if you're hating your life, anyone can have an Airbnb today and do something like that, and you can really make a lot of money doing it.
That's amazing.
It's
Who
really
who
smart.
who styles them? Do you style them for like the Instagram and selling them?
So my sister comes in with that. She does the interior design part of it, and then I do all the rest. So I'll do the photography, the editing, the directing if we have a shoot. My best friend, my sister, they both model, so it's very easy. I'm like, hey, come here, I need a model, and I'll
Yeah,
set them up, and I'll usually come up with like the location of the shooting and everything. I'll edit it, and then I'll do all the internet marketing, which
that's
I do
great.
anyway. So
Yeah, I love that it kind of scratches your creative itch. So you spend
yeah,
all this time, making boring ebooks for people,
yeah.
and then you get to do this creative thing.
It's important. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah, no,
hobby almost.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's cool. So then that is a perfect segue into your mindset because you do, first of all, clearly you're an expert in your domain, and this is like how to be successful on Fiverr. Um, and your mom's an entrepreneur, clearly.
Yeah.
So have you always been entrepreneurial? Have you always been confident? That sort of thing, because
Yeah.
you do come off as very confident in a good way, in the best way,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, I've been told on many a date. It's great. No, I've learned to have a good sense of humor with
have
it.
have people used other choice words about your confidence?
Oh yeah, I get aggressive and bossy. That's what I get. Those two things. But I really don't find myself to. I really don't plow people over. But whatever, whatever.
No, it's refreshing. I mean, I think it's so inspiring, especially for young women.
Yeah, like
The
I know
heck?
we can dive into that part of it, but okay, so I would say it was funny because growing up, I always thought I wanted to go into politics because I liked politics when I was 8. Like I was way too young to care, and I just did. And I remember everyone thought I was like, they're like, where did this child come from? But looking back on it, I was always entrepreneurial. I mean, I made eyeglass chains. I used to be really into beading, and I would sell them to like my grandparents. It's like these stories
That's
are just
awesome.
stupid. Like they're so funny. When I was 15, my mom had a garage sale. And I remember I went outside and I was like, Mom, you're doing this all wrong. You could be getting so much more money. And so she sat down and I like ran the garage sale and like doubled the sales. And I remember she was just like, okay, I'm a little scared here. Like, what did I give birth to? But I grew up watching, I mean, my mom would run her businesses from home. So when I was 3, 4, 5, 6, my mom had a hand painted clothing company, and I would watch her, paint the sweatshirts. I'd watch,
Wow.
make the phone call, sell the sweatshirt, and do it again, and do it again. And then she
Wow.
had a tattoo chain. She became a tattoo artist. So then she had tattoo schools, and I watched her build those up. And I would ask her, like, "Oh, can I come with you when you go to talk to the health department?" I was always, it was an
So
influence
valuable.
on me, but I was also very into it too. Like, she didn't have to drag me.
Oh,
Like, she
yeah.
met with her lawyer and her accountant. I was like, "Can I come? Can I come?" When like a 12-year-old would probably be like, "Hi, I don't want to go to that." So I try and, nature versus nurture. I think I'm a very strong combo of both,
Mm-hmm.
because I was me when I was 3. Everyone will tell you that. Like, I was in the grocery store going up to people and asking them about like existential crisis questions. My mom said I would ask friends, like, "Are you happy? But are you happy?" And I'm like 3. So she said everyone was like, "What is this child?" But then I also watched my mom. So I think the combo of that is what you get today.
Oh, that's great. It's
Yeah.
great. Well, thank God you have an independent business so that you can
Yeah.
just completely be yourself, which I love.
100%. And I
Yeah.
was, like, nothing is by accident. So diving into freelancing when I turned 22 was the best thing that I ever did, because I completely found my purpose and myself. And the first week I was like, wow, this is it. This is
Yeah.
so,
That's great. And that's the other thing about, I talk a lot of to a lot of people who are doing their thing online now, like, aren't you glad you were born when you were born? I mean,
yeah.
when I was your age, it was just like a couple of paths that you could take
Yeah.
to maybe be successful. And no, that's great.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about your post on Instagram. Is that cool?
Yeah. Go for I'm at
So
this point where I'm like, ask whatever you want.
yeah, AMA, because you always have this idea. So, like I said, I mean, my kids are teens and 20s, and the language of energy and frequency, mindset, spirituality, it always comes up in all different domains:
Hmm.
sports, health,
Yeah.
business, art, right? In different ways. And anytime you see somebody successful, like, you'll hear a little smidget of it, but nobody really dives deep. It's really rare that somebody claims it, right?
Yeah.
So I was, when I saw your post, I was like, there she is. She's claiming it, and the woo talk, right? So I'm just curious about how long you've been, whatever, diving into the rabbit hole of spirituality, and it even being an integral part of who you are in your business, whether your mom is the same thing, if you guys talk about existential issues and,
Yeah.
growth and expansion and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so growing up, I grew up Catholic, but my mom was never really into it. So I didn't grow up like in a very spiritually persuasive whatever home. It wasn't really a big part of it.
Okay.
And when I was 16, my mom actually took us out of the Catholic Church because of all the corruption that was happening in that particular church. She was like, I've had it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of fell into this time in my life where I was like, oh, well, I'm an atheist, because I've always been very, I lean towards I mean, it's weird because I'm artistic, but I lean towards the like math science side almost of things,
Yeah.
where I'm like, well, this needs to make sense, and whatever. So I'm like
Yeah.
16 thinking I know everything, like, please. And I was thinking to myself, like, well, I'm an atheist. I'm too smart to believe in God. Like, that's what I would think. And I'm not, again, hating on anyone here who
No, no,
doesn't
no,
believe
no,
in God. I'm just
no,
saying.
no, no, no.
Um, and so I went on like that for 5, 6 years. I can't say I was an overly happy person having those
Mm-hmm.
beliefs. I definitely wasn't, because my brain would always be questioning, well, what's the purpose of this and that? If there's no, this doesn't make sense, like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And my stepdad actually took my family to a church when I was 21. It was very different for us. It was like a born again Christian church. I remember going and being like, what the heck is happening in here?
Yeah.
why are people's hands up? This is really weird. I'm really uncomfortable. And I, continued to feel like that for like a year. I'm like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like these people need to get a grip, judgy, whatever. And then around 22, 23, I guess in the same time I discovered Fiverr and everything, it started to open my mindset up a little bit once
Hmm.
I started not having a boss telling me what to do and on, almost hitting rock bottom with things and starting to realize I don't know everything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I embrace not knowing everything, actually, the more I'm probably going to learn. So I started to develop my mindset a little bit and get a little less judgmental of things. And then, going to church, I started to get it more and more. And then unfortunately something, terrible, it didn't have to happen, but something terrible happened where my father passed away, everything, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't great. And
Yeah.
for a lot of people, when you hit that point, when like
Yeah.
something that bad happens and you kind of are like on your knees, like you don't
You're
have
totally shook. You're totally like,
totally
what the
shook,
hell? Yeah.
totally shook. And
Yeah.
that was when I totally like gave in to everything. And I like went beyond myself finally and opened up and was ready to like receive all that God, or
Mm-hmm.
some people call the universe, is like
Mm-hmm.
ready to provide me. And I
Mm-hmm.
dropped all ego that if I had ever had it, gone, because I'm like, life is short, people die, like let's
Yeah.
all that's when I started to want to almost help people like get along.
Yeah.
And because like what's the
When you,
point of any of this?
yeah, when you hit that point, did you find that things really did show up for you to
Yeah.
answer the and to feed what you were needing or what you were just
Yeah.
open to?
No,
Yeah,
that was when all this started, all of
it's
it, because
amazing.
I completely like dove in head first to this,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I obsessed over it too,
yeah,
like a coping mechanism, and I want to write a book about that to help people who are trying to get through things. So
yeah.
that was when, yeah, when I finally like got over myself and was like ready to just be a whatever God, the universe wants me to be, that was when everything
It's
exploded in my
amazing.
life in a great
Holy heck.
way.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no,
So, and so I'm also Catholic, and I wasn't raised Catholic. We were baptized, but not practicing. Because
yeah,
I have four brothers. My mother's a single mother. Like she just got like, I can't drag you guys all to get to church.
yeah,
So I went through the initiation as an adult, and was very, practicing Catholic happily, and
yeah,
raised my kids all Catholic. And then, wave two of the scandal comes 2 years ago, and it just like wrecked me.
yeah,
It just was like it was so bewildering.
of
And here I
course.
am, like it was so much a part of our family culture. I just felt so betrayed, just kind of went inward. I didn't want to talk about it with anybody else. It just was so personal. So, but at the same time, my daughter, who has her business, and then another daughter, my younger daughter, she was going through just the pain of that, but also some other stuff. And my older daughter just was talking to her about this thing happening in her life, and she goes, well, why don't you manifest it? And she's like, what? you know what is that? And I had
Yeah,
heard that because I'd been listening to podcasts about people practicing law of attraction and energy and that sort of thing. And again, she wouldn't have been open to it. And Hannah was coming from it from a business mindset.
yeah,
Why don't you make this thing? Just put your mind to what works for you, what's
mhm.
serving you, what makes you feel good, and just focus on that for the next few weeks. And it turned her around. I mean,
Oh
it
yeah,
turned her around. So it's been fun for the three of us and again, the timing I think is really not a coincidence.
no,
And I just don't practice anymore. I do not practice Catholicism, and I'm cool with that. If God knocks on the door and says you better get back to mass, okay, I'll take the message.
yeah,
But what I thought about, because you were talking about some spiritual books, and you've probably read a lot of books about saints and that sort of thing, and and I've read hundreds of them, like
yeah,
Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Teresa of the Flower, Saint Paul, Saint Padre Pio. That guy bilocated, and it's like so accepted in the church,
yeah,
right? But if a person who isn't Catholic talks about energy and using your mind to do something else, it's like, oh, you're the devil. So
Yeah.
anyway, so it's been nice for us to just like learn more about it and grow. And it's so fun when people who are successful like you, right, are really just no BS about it. This is who I am. And it's sort of, you know, how can you argue?
I mean, I feel like I feel like it goes hand in hand with spirituality, because if you believe in God or if you believe in a higher power, then you believe that there's no mistake in you, right? Like you were made and you are enough. And
Right.
I think it would help people to not hate themselves or talk so negatively to themselves, and just own who they are
Yeah.
and own their truth, be who you were meant to be. And I think that has helped me just be like happier, all
Yeah.
over person, but also be more successful, because instead of fight, because I used to fight it my whole life, because I would be called bossy, yeah, or too aggressive, or way too aggressive to be a woman, or be quiet, stop saying that. Like,
Wow.
just that feeling always would make me feel like I'm too much. I always felt like I was too much, my
Yeah.
whole life. And it
Wow.
make me feel
Wow.
bad about myself, kind of, because I'm like,
I
why am I
get
too
it.
much? Like, why
I
do
get it.
people keep saying this to me?
Yeah.
And I've recently kind of just come into, no, I'm not. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to follow me or whatever. I don't hate you for that. That's okay. Like
Yeah.
I don't hate you. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
And for those who do like it, great. Stick around, stay a while. I
Well,
provide
the other
educational
difference
content.
though, yeah, the other difference I think is that it helps you not be fearful. I mean,
Yeah.
business can be extremely fearful. There's risk involved. You're not knowing everything, and you have to learn and push yourself to learn. And it kind of helps with that, I think. You know.
I do too. No, I would say, people say that to me often. You're fearless. Like, I can't do what you do because I'm scared. I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid to get started. It's always
Hmm.
fear. What
Yeah.
if this? What if that? And I'll say in these TikTok videos, you guys, it costs nothing. That's what's so, it's not like you're
Yeah.
putting your life savings into a restaurant. It's
Right.
free. And
Yeah.
I'll just say to people, don't be so scared. What are you so scared of? Your mom's going to make fun of you, and I always like, will get people to talk to me about that. And I've been doing free consultations. I'll give them away at the holidays.
That's
And
awesome.
every single time the person ends up crying on the consultation
Oh,
with me.
wow.
Every time, because I will see that there's some roadblock that's keeping them back. So I'm one of those people, I'm like, all right, instead of for 60 minutes pretending I don't see this, I'll be like, what is that roadblock? Like, what's the matter? Like, why, who are you scared to like disappoint? And then everyone will like start
Oh,
crying.
that's so great.
But that's what it is. Like,
You know what's so crazy about it though? Why aren't they scared to take out $70,000 worth of debt for college?
I don't know. I
That's
don't
what's
know.
scary to me as a parent. And
Yeah.
luckily I've like brainwashed my kids that none of them are going to do that. So
Yeah, good, good.
yeah.
I went to a state school. I didn't go to a fancy private school because I didn't want debt. I don't think I could have what I have done for myself today with debt.
Can you imagine having the burden of, you couldn't have
No,
taken the chance. You couldn't
I
have
wouldn't have.
afforded, you probably couldn't have afforded to leave the job you left.
Correct. 100%. I wouldn't be me. And a lot of people my age, a lot of my friends, 27, 28, who have that on them, I can see they're really unhappy because
Oh,
they can't take the risks that I took.
that's right.
and
That's right.
and and I don't think where you get your degree from is definitely becoming more and more obsolete. I
No,
mean,
and
Fiverr, no one cares where it came
my
from.
two older girls know they're not, and my son's going to graduate from Cleveland State this year, and he's so ready to start doing something online.
Yeah,
And then my younger one, he knows he's not going into debt. I mean, if he decides to go to school, but
and
anyway.
that's a good point. Like, you don't have to go to school either necessarily. A lot of these app developers I work with, they never went to school. They just went to a coding boot camp, and
Yeah,
they're making 400K a year at 27, and they're probably a lot happier. So
yeah,
I think making people feel like they have to go to school sometimes isn't really the answer either.
yeah. It's
I'm
so
glad I did,
crazy.
but
Sure, yeah, and me too. I mean, there was, that was a no brainer when I
yeah.
was, but the debt wasn't the same. when I graduated.
Right. Yeah.
So I know, you have stuff to do today, but but I want to, what's the best place besides TikTok? I'm 100% going to link that because I think it's really easy to binge. But what is the best place for people to find out what you're doing? I didn't even get a chance to ask you like what you're excited about for the new year, but I'm going to be following you, so I'll follow up. Yeah, the best place for people to reach out or just to see what you're into or get one of your courses.
Yeah, I would say to people, I mean, the most informational items that I have, okay, on TikTok, it's free if you want to go through all that. But if you feel like spending $40, whatever, my ebook, my freelancing on Fiverr ebook, it's on my website, which is just alexfasulo.com. And then my online courses, I think, are just everything. There's one for writing and one for just freelancing. And I think they will prepare everyone for it. That's on a different website, mentorcamp.io, I believe.
Is that linked in your main website though, in the drop down, or not? Or maybe it might be linked on TikTok.
It's linked on TikTok. It's in my TikTok and Instagram bio.
That's right.
Online course thing. Yeah. Cool. And I feel like if you want to follow me on a social media app where you get to see what I'm up to every day, that's definitely Instagram. I'll just post on my Insta stories, like probably inappropriate things, but I'll just post whatever I'm doing.
I love that though. I love that.
Yeah. Cause I also like to show people I'm a human being and I'm not like, over here, not talking to other humans. Yeah. And then my Instagram's Alexandra Fasulo. As you can see, I'm having branding problems with Alex versus Alexandra. I got to figure that one out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, what you go by. So
I go by whatever.
Yeah.
Alex normally, but whatever. I'm not like one of those people that gets all offended if you say the wrong name. So those are all the places.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And I knew we'd have a fun conversation.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me on. This stuff always like motivates me more.
Oh, good. No, and I appreciate it because you're such a good model for my girls and my son. So no, this will be great. Cool.
Yeah, no, thank you, Beth. This was great.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out the show notes at spinoffsuccess.com, where you'll find all the links and any resources mentioned on today's episode. Subscribe on Apple Podcast or your favorite podcast player. The show is now available on Spotify and Google Podcasts, so you can check it out there as well. And I'd really appreciate if you leave a rating and review. It helps others find the show, and it helps out the show in general. Finally, I have one more favor. If you or someone you know has a spin-off success story that you think would inspire others or just be interesting to the audience in general, shoot me an email at beth@spinoffsuccess.com, and you can either leave me a link to the work that you're doing, maybe a company that you started, or just tell me a little bit about your spin-off success. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.